Paranormal Adventures proudly presents the Supernatural Roundtable, a journey into the shadows of the unknown, where myths and legends blur with reality. Join your hosts, Sean, Craig, and Richard, as they explore the unexplained, diving deep into the chilling mysteries of the supernatural. From the towering figure of Bigfoot lurking in the forests, to the eerie whispers of dogmen and the elusive presence of Mothman, we seek the truth behind the world's most elusive cryptids, ghostly apparitions, otherworldly encounters, and the unseen forces that linger in the darkness await. Together, we'll explore UFOs, government cover-ups, and the forgotten history buried beneath decades of secrecy. What are the origins of these mysteries? What are the consequences of their existence? And more importantly, what do they mean for us? Prepare yourself to venture beyond the veil of reality. Turn down the lights, listen closely, and step into the unknown, because the supernatural world is closer than you think. This is the Supernatural Roundtable.
So, coming to you today, I think we've got a pretty interesting topic, and it's something I think kind of goes along with what we talked about some last week. You know, we talked about Hollow Earth last week, but we kind of got into the talking about Atlantis a little bit. So that brought to mind us talking about Atlantis and other lost cities. So
Atlantis has some links to Hollow Earth.
It does. That's why we talked about it.
Seen some stuff about
so
that.
I'm gonna let y'all start this off because y'all know more about Atlantis than I do, and I've got set up to where if we need to do some quick in time research, I think we've got set up to where we can do some research while we go as well. So
good deal.
Carry it off.
All right. I guess you want me to start?
You done the most research.
All right. Well, we all know Atlantis, and we're all pretty familiar with the story. But what most of us are not familiar with is the fact that it is not a Greek story; it is an Egyptian story. Yeah, and it's roughly about 12,000 years old. And it's just kind of crazy because it talks about a great flood that wiped out Atlantis. It came from the Greek philosopher Plato, but he said he gave credit to Solon, a respected Athenian lawmaker that traveled to Egypt around 600 BCE. Their priests of the city Sais told him of a war between ancient Athens and mighty seafaring empire called Atlantis, which existed 9,000 years before, placing it around 9600 BCE. This empire, they claimed, lay beyond the Pillars of Heracles, or Hercules, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Gibraltar.
Straits of Gibraltar, and was larger than Libya and Asia combined. Atlantis was described as structurally complex with I can't even say it, with rings around of land and sea, rich in resources, advanced in architecture, technology, and naval power, corrupted by greed, prompting the gods to punish it. Destroyed in a single day and night, earthquakes, and flooding. So that's what most of us know of Atlantis.
Well, I read a publication that was done by this guy named Ignatius Donnelly, and he believes it's connected to the Bible. He thinks that the Garden of Eden was actually at Atlantis, and that when the Great Flood, when it got destroyed by water, that was the Great Flood.
Yeah.
I have some theories. I was telling Sean, opinionated Bible, Book of Enoch, all I've read, documentaries, books, things I've seen about Atlantis. I'm kind of gathering that Atlantis was this big land mass, and I think when God had created humans, I think he had another alien race that he made prior to us. The ancient aliens, an ancient alien tribe, he had put down here watchers, so to speak, that lived primarily on Atlantis. I've seen other things in documentaries make mention of that they inhabited that area. They were here to teach us and show us how to do things, and they were very powerful. They used crystals for power and energy sources. They knew how to do that. We didn't. But I think some of them got corrupt. They got too big. They weren't following God's law, but when they first came here, they were following God's law the same as what we were going to be taught too. But I think they are the ones that this group that branched off are the ones that mated with human women. Well, God didn't want an alien species and the human race he created to intermix. And that's how the Nephilim came about and the fall. And then later on, you get Noah and the flood and all that, which would explain why Atlantis was destroyed so quickly, because it was from the flood at Noah's time. But I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. Like, I've read so much stuff, and the Minoans that were part of the Atlantis history. And I do believe it's in the Atlantic. I do believe it's around Gibraltar. I do believe that's where they're going to, if they ever find it, but I don't think they will, because the Atlantic Rift is so deep and so wide. I think it's going to be way, way down. And if there is hollow earth going on and they built or they continued a civilization, I think it would be underground. So I don't know that we ever will find it.
Oh, I'm looking at images of what Atlantis could have looked like, and I would love to share them, but I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Well, you can put it on the Facebook page.
Do something, Sean. Type in the Eye of the Sahara. You see how Atlantis looks. I want you to look at the Eye of Sahara.
Sahara?
Yeah, like the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
That is a massive structure in the middle of the desert. And what that white around it is sea salt.
Huh.
Wow. Okay.
Can you share that? Share the pictures, Rich?
Let's see here.
And if he can't figure it out, I can put some of these on our Facebook page later, and that way everybody can see it. I usually try to do that.
Boy,
anyway.
I tell you what, with all that, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Piecing stuff together is how I'm coming about some of the.
Right.
I mean, like I said, it's just my opinion, but it's just from looking at the whole big picture and the research and piecing.
I've got it pulled up on my screen so they'd be able to see it.
Okay.
But looking at the picture that I see of what the Atlantis is supposedly looks like,
it
and
looks like that.
What you were talking about, there is it's really similar what they.
It's a big similarity.
People might say it's coincidental, but I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah, it does look like it.
And these Atlanteans, they're supposed to be a superior race,
Yeah.
And some of them believe to have had superhuman abilities.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
another word for that, I think, is alien.
Yeah.
Well, if it gives you any idea how big the Eye of the Sahara is, it is 40 kilometers, 25 miles in diameter. So
wow.
It's big, and it's located in Mauritania, which is in the Western Sahara, which I believe would put it past the Straits of Gibraltar.
Wow.
I'm not like discounting what you said about it being in the ocean. That's very possible too.
I mean, I don't know either, but it's like I said, piecing stuff together.
Talking about that, the even here in the States, there are places, far north of where the oceans are, that there's sea creatures and the fossils of sea creatures found in places you would never think that they would be.
Oh, yeah,
like
So
the
they
mountains.
very well could have been in the ocean at one time.
That's true.
if you look at geological scale, I mean, the Earth is, I mean, where we're sitting right now, at one point, at least where I'm sitting right now, was at one point underwater, but that's of course millions of years ago, and you had creatures like mosasaurs and stuff like that swimming around. But there is a very interesting, if you look at all the major civilizations on Earth, almost every single one of them has a flood myth. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which is Sumerian. You have, of course, Noah's Ark, the Bible. You have the Greeks have a flood theory. You have Hindu mythology has a flood theory. You have the Chinese have a flood myth.
The Mayans.
The Incans and the Indians, the Aztecs, the Mayans, uh, Aborigines in Australia have floods. The Hawaiians have floods. The Norse and the Finnish have flood myths. Even the Africans have flood myths.
Oh yeah.
All these cultures that are completely separated from each other by thousands of miles.
Yeah.
But
Sean,
yeah,
I
most,
was looking at I was looking at this. Even Native Americans here, like the Choctaw, the Cree, the Hopi. I think we talked about the Hopi a lot last week.
Yeah, we sure did.
Great blood.
They all have flood myths as well.
Well, all these cultures, they're intertwined and connected in many ways. Because I was reading something, I can't remember who it was from, but they were saying that there's actual stuff about Atlantis in the pyramids of Egypt.
Yeah. Since since you brought the pyramids, I've seen some things where there's theories. They think that those pyramids go underground. I mean, all the way down. Like there's tunnels that they go down.
well,
Which would link the whole Earth, but
did you hear the news that apparently they've discovered something under the Great Pyramid? Like this is a few days ago. Apparently a city.
really, for real.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
all
would
over
be
the
what
news.
people have been theorizing about all this time.
It could be.
Yeah, they said it goes way, way down. I can't remember what they estimated.
It's
Do you,
deep.
Rick?
Picture,
I know.
I'll put it on the page.
I don't have any pictures of it. I didn't really do any research into that yet because
Two and on.
it's just one of those things. I was kind of crunching a little bit for time because I got off late and I just didn't have time to do research into that what they found.
It's kind of like them theorizing that there's the library underneath the
The Sphinx.
Sphinx there in Egypt, which is right there by the pyramids.
Yeah, that's what they was talking about. That they found evidence of, them talking about Atlantis.
Did you find that picture? No.
That's actually kind of cool.
Oh wow, yeah.
I was looking up what you were talking about the pyramids. It says recent discoveries have revealed a vast underground city beneath the Egyptian pyramids, particularly the Gaza pyramid or Giza. Giza. Researchers from Italy and Scotland have utilized advanced radar technology to uncover the intricate underground structure which extends significantly below the surface. Additionally, other studies have indicated the presence of massive underground structures that may be connected to this city, suggesting a complex network beneath the pyramid.
Wow.
And they're also saying it's got a like this energy source that's supposed to go right up into the pyramid.
Like crystals and things.
I'm not sure, but they was mentioning that.
And to bring it back to the whole flood thing, each flood myth has like a theme to it, almost every single one of them. Divine punishment for human arrogance or wickedness, chosen survivors, often the righteous, warned beforehand, usually given to safety by boat or floating objects, usually with animal companions. Birds are usually sent out to find land after the aftermath. Mountain landings are where they end up in almost every flood myth. And it
Wow.
all revolves around rebirth and repopulation after the flood.
I sent you a picture of what you were kind of talking about, a energy source under the pyramid, Craig.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
All right.
That's a picture showing.
That's the one I saw right there.
But anyway,
And I'm gonna bring up another apparent lost civilization. This ties into more of your Hollow Earth that we were talking about last week, Lemuria.
yeah,
Lemuria?
Yeah, also it could be called Mu. I'm not really sure, but apparently it's the Pacific's forgotten cradle of civilization.
it's spelled.
Yeah, it's MU.
Huh?
It's spelled MU or it could be spelled Lemuria.
And
It said Mu was the mother of humanity inhabited by peaceful and spiritually enlightened races or race. It had cities, technology, and agriculture, and a deep understanding of universal law.
oh, that's
Mu
cool.
sank 12,000 years ago. It was also destroyed by volcanic activity and earthquakes. You've seen a pattern here. 12,000 years ago.
It
Survivors.
makes you wonder. I mean, that changes your whole thinking about everything.
Here's another kicker. Survivors fled to India, Central America, Mesopotamia, and Egypt.
That
Wow.
it looks like Mew was located in the Pacific, kind of between, you know,
Yeah.
they're,
There's Easter Island.
they're around Australia, South America, you know, in that area.
Wow.
That's another mystery too. Easter Island and those big faces.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes.
Well, if it was around there, I mean, they could have had something to do with it.
Exactly. That's what it's showing.
And they both talked about earthquakes and stuff like that, and sinking and everything. Well, I think Craig and I talked about it on the when we talked about it the Wednesday. The when the flood happened, it talked about that
I think he froze up.
beneath.
There you go.
You froze up.
Yeah, you froze up for a second.
Everything kind of opened up from underneath,
Yeah.
you know, and so when basically like when the water vented from what I would say vented from the hollow earth, you know, came up through the ocean floor, it opened up the ocean floor, and what would that do? It's caused it to have an earthquake.
You know, that one Ark in the Darkness talks about that when the flood happened. And they're saying that's how a lot of the continents got separated the way they did, and that made the Atlantic Ridge that's so deep and big. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
A lot of this just makes my faith even stronger because I'm like, we're all connected and tied, and everything is just really cool.
Oh, I believe that in many ways, you know. It just makes you wonder, though, you know, what type of, you know, the Atlanteans, the Mayans, all them people back in the day, you know,
Mhm.
it just really makes you get to thinking about it and wondering what connections there really was, you know.
And then like the Mayans completely disappeared too, and they were like a pretty advanced little civilization too. They were building the pyramid type structures too.
Yeah.
hmm Well, here's the thing: almost all these civilizations we have brought up, Egypt, the Mesoamerica, which would be the Mayans, the Aztecs, China to Indonesia, even in Sudan and possibly the Caribbean, there are pyramids.
Yeah.
There's
In the Bahamas on the Bimini Road. I've seen about the Bimini Road too.
Yeah, you're telling me that scientists are wanting to say that's natural. That does not look natural.
No, no. I've seen the thing programs on that before, and that Bimini Road does not. It looks man-made. Somebody done that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Even the Mississippi culture had massive earthen pyramids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We got that one over here close to
It's a
where
little
we're
rock.
where we're at. That I think they renamed it now, but it's called the Toltec Mounds.
Toltec
Where
mounds.
they where they built. One of them is a pretty much a burial mound where they buried all their dead, but they also had like different mounds for different things. And to me, it when they first started, excavating all that and everything, it kind of made me feel like that they were calling the Native Americans idiots because they said, "Oh, they were the people that came from Mexico up here to build these." I'm like, why could we? Why could the Native Americans, the ones that were already here, why could they not have built this? Are they that dumb that they couldn't have built something like this?
It is a really cool place though, and if y'all ever want to come up too, I know I'd like to go back out there. We could all make a trip out there.
That'd be
But
cool.
they'll let you walk around if there's different trails, and they've got like a museum, kind of like a little museum set up. You can walk through and see the history and a lot of the Native American artifacts they found.
Oh,
And
that'd
it's
be
pretty
cool.
cool. It's really interesting, and it's really cool out there.
Well, that whole mindset of natives people being unintelligent is just so stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, look at the complex cities. They built them with irrigate these complex irrigation systems and everything else. It's just unreal.
If y'all ever watch, there's a guy you need to watch. His name is Graham Hancock. He has a series on Netflix, and he talks about a lot of these lost civilizations too. And they're doing LiDAR scans of the Amazon, and they're finding structures in the Amazon, cities in the
oh,
Amazon
oh,
buried.
cool.
Yeah, so the he even says that the history of humanity is not fully written. We have lost so much knowledge over the ages, and I think Atlantis is part of that for sure.
Yeah.
And we talked about all the advances that we have made, but to be honest with you, stuff like this right here has made us stupid.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
we don't have to think like we used to.
hmm
And I know y'all remember back in school that the teacher said, our math teachers told us that you have to know your multiplications. You have to know this. You have to know that. You will not be carrying a calculator in your pocket. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
We don't have to think about all that anymore. We can, so with all this technology we have now, imagine how much more of our brains we would have to use if we lived back when the Atlanteans were here or the Egyptians. How much smarter they actually were because they didn't have what we have.
Well, there is an argument to be made. You know, the Earth every I can't remember. I think it's 25,000 years or so shifts on its axis. We're actually getting ready to shift in the next I don't know when, But
I've seen stuff like that
Yeah.
posted, and there's some galactic people that are like, the shift is happening, you know.
it probably is. But
Yeah.
when the pyramids were built, they were aligned, I believe, with a constellation.
Yeah.
And they are almost dead on accurate. That takes mathematical skill beyond what most modern people can do.
We're supposed to soon be coming into Aquarius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, even them building the pyramids, you know how they made them so structurally perfect. You know how did they do that?
Yeah. You know, it's
That's why I think ancient aliens were here.
talking about the pyramids being aligned. Stonehenge was aligned. You know, with
It was.
the what was it? The equinoxes.
Solstices, I think.
Yeah.
And then I got one more possibly lost continent or lost city to bring up. It's called Kumari Kandam, and it's in the looks like it's in the Indian Ocean. South India is rooted in literature tradition going back to the 2nd century BCE. Describes an ancient, now sunken land south of India that was once home to a powerful and enlightened Tamil civilization. While early references speak of the lost kingdom due to flooding, it was during the 19th century that colonial influence and rising interest in Lemuria that Kumari Kandam became deeply mythologized. The crazy thing about it, it is said to have sunk about 12,000 years ago.
Hmm.
See where this is all aligning.
Yeah. They've all sunk at the same time. Like, that's almost like the Great Flood, you know, and goes into all the flood mythology.
There was also another famous city that was uncovered. It's been a little while ago, called Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. That was built around 12,000 years ago, which is older than some of the earliest settlements they have recorded. That shows. I mean, scientists at first were saying, "Oh, it's just hunter gatherers." Why would hunter gatherers build a structure like Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah. No.
If you see pictures of Göbekli Tepe, you're like, "That's not hunter gatherers. That is a
Right.
civilization, and they built it." There are underground cities in Turkey that they had prepared for a cataclysm of some kind. And
I think the ancient aliens were here, like the Palladian and the Anunnaki.
who's to say?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They could have been created too and just put down here to help, you know, but
Well,
I've seen a lot of stuff about that lately.
I looked at after watching Graham Hancock's stuff. He brought up a really interesting point, and I think a lot of it does make sense. There was an
Graham.
event. Yeah, he's a British author. Y'all should look him up. He's really cool.
I'm
Any-
going to put that in my notes.
yeah, there was an event that happened about 12,500 years ago called the Younger Dryas Extinction Event. And what he theorized is that a comet hit the Earth around that time and hit the ice caps.
I think I read about that.
Mhm. I mentioned it last episode we had too. So you have a comet striking the ice sheets, especially if they struck where he thinks it struck in North America. North America was still pretty covered in ice at that point in time. You would have a global flood. Superheated comet hitting ice.
No doubt about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense if it's big enough flood. I mean, even the Earth's sea levels have risen and fallen so much because Alaska used to have a land bridge to Russia.
Yeah, yeah, it did.
And what a lot of people don't know is
It had
Britain.
the Bering Strait.
Yeah.
And now it's like the Bering Sea, but
Yeah, a Bering land bridge. And what a lot of people don't know is Britain used to have a land bridge too.
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't always an island.
Was it connected? What was it connected to France then?
Roughly, I think. Right in there.
Okay. Because like an English channel goes between France and England, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the English Channel itself is not super deep.
Really?
Yeah, but that flooded like 6,000 years ago, roughly. I think maybe 6 to
Wow,
9.
I never knew that.
Mhm.
That's cool.
So you have all these civilizations and flooding and all that taking place within a few thousand years of each other. In some cases, like right at at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of crazy once you really start looking into it. And if we were really that advanced, and say the survivors of Atlantis and all these other places fled, that might explain why you got pyramids everywhere too.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
you know, kind of my thought on them having pyramids and stuff. You know, in South America, in Egypt, and right was because all the continents at one time were connected. So yeah, all the civilizations,
Yeah.
all the civilizations at one point in time pretty much commingled in some form or fashion, and of course they're going to swap trade secrets. Basically, it's like, hey, we built this, and then the next civilization's like, well, they built this, we can build this too, and make it look better.
There
Yeah,
definitely seems to be a connection.
yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of special stuff with Atlantis and Atlanteans. Like they were supposed to have like flying vehicles, like crystals that they used for energy. Like they were so advanced.
And I've heard of
And
anti gravity technology, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
also mentioned in the other Moo and the other one. They're both
Really, I'm
mentioned
gonna have
having,
to look at Moose
yeah,
Sound. That's cool.
yeah. So you have what I mean. It could even have been a global spanning civilization that was powerful at one point in time. Maybe even
and,
all these cities were connected to each other at one point in time.
look at what they say about the people of the Hollow Earth. They've got these flying vehicles like that. They've
Yeah,
got you know
Oh,
these other technologies that are similar to what the Atlanteans had.
yeah, it's true.
Well, the Atlantis, it was really described as a naval empire that ruled all the western parts. So
yeah.
Yeah, you have three major. Well, you have one in the Pacific, one in the Indian Ocean, and one in the Atlantic that are all major powers that control that area. I mean, who's to say? It's interesting to think about what we could be missing technologically, what we could be missing in history.
no doubt about that. I mean, it definitely makes you want to lean toward the whole alien thing, and you connect it with Bible stuff.
Yeah. Because I think about what it is mentioned in the Bible, the divine council. Well, who's the divine council? There could have been other races created and put on different star systems, whatever. We don't know.
Yeah,
And then
That's true.
let us make man in our image. Well, if you look at even the ancient aliens, they're still human. Like they've got a face, they've got two arms, two legs, hands, you know, hands, feet, like we do. So, I mean, they may look slightly different, but they're humanoid.
yeah,
No doubt.
Look at Star Trek. All their aliens are humanoid.
Sure that.
that's
It,
true.
Although they look better as the generation comes along than the original, but
Yeah,
uh,
a little bit, but it's also something to think about. It might not have been, even if it was global, maybe not every human was a part of it too, because you still had the hunter gatherer tribes too.
that's true. And the
That
indigenous,
yeah.
um,
So say you had
that's
these
what I was thinking too.
yeah. So say you had these great floods that happened. The survivors of these major civilizations maybe went among the, I hate to say lesser people, but people not as advanced as their own, and that's why you got structures
Yeah.
like Gobekli Tepe right after and all that.
I kind of wondered that myself, if there were more people, more survivors than just Noah and his family, because you'd have to repopulate. I don't know.
It seems like it'd be kind of hard with one
Yeah,
family to repopulate.
yeah. That's what I was kind of thinking. So maybe all over the world, there were certain people that were allowed, they were survivors, or they were given information on how to survive.
And of course, they lived longer back then too.
That's true.
Their ages were. I mean, what was Noah? He was like,
Oh, yeah. 900 and something, I think.
Yeah.
I also watched, I think it was on Tubi, The Ark in the Darkness, but it's really good. It really makes you think. So they kind of take a lot of science, everything from the beginning, and like intermingle it with the Bible and all this stuff, and it's really interesting documentary.
Noah was 950.
I knew it was something like that.
It was a ripe old age.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I can handle you for 950 years.
Or watch it.
Well, actually, if you look at the human DNA, you'll see there's several places in our history where there is a genetic bottleneck, where you see the population just decline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call it what'd they say in that show? A disintegration of the earth after the flood. And then the ages start slowly. It takes a while, but they slowly start coming down to our 120 years. Like a decay, a time decay, and it follows the Bible.
Yeah.
It's tricky how they do that.
It's talking about the population being populated by one family, and you go back and you think about Adam and Eve and their sons, and you think, well, everybody came from Adam and Eve, but after Cain killed Abel and he was banished from there, he goes, well, you're sending me into this country, and I have to go into these other cities. Well, where did the other cities come from? I'm sitting here going, God created Adam and Eve, put them in the garden. Then he goes, well, they're going to be in the garden. I'm going to put some other people over here and see what they do. Kind of like a big science experiment.
Well, it does make you think, because who did Cain marry then? Because it talks about his wife and then her tribe and her people, but they came from somewhere, right?
That's very true.
So I've always kind of wondered that, well, where did they come from? If he was banished from where he was at and put over here with these people, where did they come from?
Right.
It's just something I've always kind of thought about.
It is also possible that maybe this advanced civilization was a tribe too. So
yeah,
could have been.
And with the flood, it was supposed to have wiped out all the Nephilim and all those. But then after the flood, they were
still there.
There were more giants. Goliath was there. The Israelites went into Canaan, and they sent the spies across the Jordan, and they said, we look like grasshoppers to them dudes.
yeah.
They make up, and they were carrying bundles of grapes big enough that they had to put, two men had to carry one bunch of grapes on a stick between them, because they were so big. So, there were still giants even after the flood, and giant stuff.
It's very possible. Everything, it just.
The Vikings weren't giants, but they were very large people. Some of them were reported to be over 7 feet tall. The Vikings.
Sorry, I'm kind of passionate about the giants. I think they're cool.
They are kind of cool. There's a lot about them.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, then you got people that are on average a lot smaller, looking like Vietnamese and people like that. They're pretty small compared to us modern people.
And they there's the group that they dubbed the hobbits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That
I've seen something like that.
that was Homo Florentian. It's pretty
Hmm.
bad that I know all this.
I don't know. I don't know all the homos.
Oh God, you don't want me to get started. I know a bunch. So you had Florentians, Denisovans, and Neanderthalists, and all that. There's more. I could go on. But
That looks like a Planet of the Apes person.
what Florentians?
I was looking, he pulled up a picture, and I'm like, man, that looks like Planet of the Apes person.
All I did was I typed in homos.
It's
Yeah,
Australopithecus. Yeah, looks
Yeah.
like a Planet of the Apes.
You damn dirty ape.
quite literally. Yeah. So you had all that
Sorry.
too. So I don't know. Our history is so wild and assorted that it's just who's to tell what's true anymore, with the myths of Atlantis and a moo and the other one for sure, because it's just, I mean,
I think more and more is going to start coming out, and like how you were saying, they found the stuff under the pyramids and stuff now. I think it's a matter of time before there's going to be some awakenings, and we're going to maybe know more.
I think a lot of Bible people are going to be really shocked.
maybe.
Yeah.
Who's to say it doesn't tie into the Bible? Because I think they found the Ark. It's somewhere in Turkey, I want to say.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's a restricted area. They don't let anyone in there.
yeah.
But
And the government, whatever they find, I think a lot of them are going to hide it from us.
Yeah. A lot of people in I put in quotes in the Christian realm turn their nose up to a lot of this stuff, the paranormal, supernatural stuff, ghosts, UFOs, all this stuff. And I sit here, I it's something I say quite a bit is that the most supernatural book you'll ever come across is the Bible.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got Jesus taking demons and putting them into swine.
Yeah.
I mean, you got giants, you got a flying chariot that takes was it Ezekiel or Elijah up to heaven.
Elijah.
I mean, Jesus walks on water, and the disciples were like, "Look, it's a ghost," and he doesn't go, "There's no such thing as ghosts." He goes, "No, it's just me. I'm here."
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
if you look at most of the religious texts, everything from the Greeks to the Egyptians, everything was supernatural. The Vikings, we in the modern world we have lost touch with what is supernatural or what we would consider supernatural, what may have actually been the natural world at one point in time. We've moved away from it, as you said, because of crap like this.
Yeah.
And I think there is
I guess not me. I love this stuff.
yeah, and there's a growing percentage of people that do.
Yeah.
As more people have Bigfoot encounters, ghost encounters, or something they can't explain.
And I've been this way. I mean, since I could talk. I mean, my mom, she probably gets so mad at me because I'm like, why? Why? I always wanted to know things. I had a quest of knowledge. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why? Why is it like that?
Yeah.
I was always that way.
Well, I've had a lot of experiences in my life. A lot of it I don't talk about. Some of it I do, but I mean, have I seen what I consider a ghost? Yes, I have. And have I seen creatures? Well, yes, I have. And it's not just a Bigfoot either that I've seen. I ain't for sure what I actually seen on one night. It's just ungodly what you can see if you just open your mind up to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what's great to talk to other people that have that, thirst for knowledge and they're really into this kind of stuff. Like I always like to say, I am a Christian, but I'm a spiritual person. I like to say I'm spiritual and open minded to a lot of stuff. And like I said, I've always been inquisitive. So
and if you really look at the Bible, God never said that there weren't other gods. He said, "Don't put other gods above me." Oh, and I don't know why I kept that while y'all were talking. I kept thinking about Moses and his staff. And Pharaoh's magicians. Moses and his brother Aaron went into Pharaoh. They the Moses threw his staff down. It turned into a snake. What did Pharaoh's magicians do? They threw their staffs down. They turned into snakes.
Hmm.
They had some sort of magical ability to do that. But Moses' staff ate the other two. His snake ate the other two snakes, showing his superior ability, but they were able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are born with what I like to call spiritual gifts. I know I have some, and they were passed down from my mama. I know they came from her. She had these ways of doing things and seeing things. She didn't always talk about it, but if you get her to talk about it, she'd tell you some things.
I always say I'm spiritually inept. 'Cause I ain't had a whole lot happen to me. Thank the Lord that I haven't, because I don't run away with that. But I think there's something to be said, because I think there's an entrenched dogma around like science and what we believe our understanding of the world is today. And I think there's an encouragement to keep the world as is, going the way it is. That's why it's people didn't think like, oh, what was it? The going theory for the longest time is that humans hadn't set foot in North America for it was 25,000 years ago when the Native Americans crossed. But now they're finding structures in the Amazon that are older than that. So that's blowing holes in scientific theory, and a lot of scientists don't like that.
My question is, how can you have a landmass as large as North and South America and not have a single any population at all? It's kind of like saying there's no mountain lions in Arkansas.
And sorry to any history people out there, history teachers, but Columbus was not the person that discovered America. The Vikings were over here way before he ever set foot over here.
And the Native Americans were here before they were.
But I mean, like from across the ocean.
Yeah, the Vikings. I think it was who was it? Leif Erikson.
Yeah.
And they actually, I think, intermingled with a lot of the Native women. And I know, like, I'm fair skinned, freckled, but I've got Cherokee. And on my mom's side of the family, which was a surprise because they're also fair, but it traced all the way back when I did Ancestry to Cherokee.
If I remember right, when it was either Columbus or one of them early explorers, when they first came over, when they first made landfall over here, and they were greeted, the person that greeted them spoke English.
Possible.
Yeah.
I know if you look at a lot of like the native South Americans, they share a genetic ancestry with the Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
So that says something. They were tremendous navigators back in the day.
And when the Pilgrims came and they met Squanto, he already knew English too.
That might have been who I was thinking about.
Yeah. He already knew how to speak English.
Anyway, we're down to 3 minutes. If you want to hit us out.
Yeah, 3 minutes, guys.
We could have talked some more.
It's been a pretty good. I really enjoyed this.
And fun. I'm glad I got the opportunity to sit in. So
There for a little bit. She's like, I don't know if I want to do it or not. But
I'll
we
let me
got-
tell you,
it was just
you
because
added a lot to this.
yeah, it's just because we had a bad afternoon. So, but anyway, it turned around.
Good deal.
So I'm happy now. But
I hate to say that we didn't have any viewers on this one, but when Craig and I were talking earlier, we actually had 5 people pop in. We're just testing the Podbean Live, so I know it works. So we've had people listening earlier today.
Oh, hey, that's something. It's getting there.
Yeah.
I'll learn some things too. I'm gonna have to look that Graham up. I have it wrote down in my notes, but I'm curious about that. And what was that place you said that started with an L?
Lemuria.
Lemuria. I want to look that up too because I didn't know about that. So I'll learn some new things too.
I'm going to let you give our plugs with the email and Facebook and all that.
So if you want to reach us, it's Sean and Krystal, the number 2 at gmail.com, right? Is that the email address?
No.
Did I get it wrong?
Absolutely, completely,
Did I butcher it?
terribly. It's Paranormal Adventures.
Okay.
That was horrible.
Then you do it.
Now I'm going to have to create a new
No.
email.
Paranormal Adventures, the number 2 at gmail.com.
Yes.
All right.
And our Facebook page, Adventures or Paranormal Adventures with Sean and Krystal on Facebook.
Yes.
And I will post some pictures, you guys, of the stuff we talked about if I can find some things.
And then you can
And
find us
also
on
like and subscribe to us,
please
please.
do. All right, and that's a wrap. And under a minute.
Don't forget to look up the Archie Squatchers as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining